Hi everybody, Jennifer Schaus here, coming to you live today from Washington, D.C. And thank you for joining us in our Big Tech in Federal Government Contracting webinar series. This is a series of 15 webinars over the course of 16 weeks. We're going to skip the week of Thanksgiving. If you're looking for the recording or any other of our government contracting webinars, you can find them over on YouTube. It'll take about 30 seconds of your time to click on the link and subscribe to our channel, which won't cost you anything. And you've got full access to a huge library of various topics in government contracting. Okay, a little bit about us. We are based in downtown DC and work with established government contractors, primarily helping them with GSA schedules, getting onto the schedule, as well as post-award support, including proposal writing, business development, capture, compliance, and you name it. So the services are provided a la carte. Separate from that, if you are interested in reaching federal government contractors, you can place an ad in our newsletter, sponsor a webinar, or sponsor an event, and we've got one coming up in December. If you're interested in our media kit, which has pricing and options for reaching federal contractors, simply send us an email to the hello@jenniferschaus.com email address, and we will send over our media kit. As I mentioned, we do have an event coming up Monday, December 9th. We expect about 300 to 400 federal contractors. We are hosting the event in partnership with our friends over at Fed Bid Speed, and we want to thank our current sponsors, which are Voltron and Cavu. If you want to register for the event, the link is at the bottom of your screen, and the slides will be available later today on slideshare.net. You can log in there with your LinkedIn credentials, and that will give you access to the slides as well as any links that are in the slides. Should you need help getting onto any contract vehicles that are out, whether it's the GSA multiple award schedule, as I mentioned, or any of the other specialty contract vehicles, you can send us an email, and we will put you in touch with our proposal writer who handles those. Okay, a little bit about the series. Again, as I mentioned, we're covering the top 15 tech companies in federal government contracting. These are Wednesdays at 12. Everything's recorded. It's complimentary. Find the videos on the YouTube channel. Find the PowerPoints over on slideshare.net. Log in there with your LinkedIn credentials, and it doesn't cost you anything. Here's where we are in the series. We've already covered Google, Facebook, Twitter, which is X, as well as Microsoft last week. Today we're covering Intel. The only week that we skip, as I mentioned earlier, is November 27th, which is the day before Thanksgiving. But we've got a lot to get through, and if you're looking for any of the recordings, you can find those over on our website under the Big Tech section, as well as the registration links for what we're getting ready to cover. The data comes to us from GovSpend, and it's analyzed by our friend Archiza Meehan over at Fed Consult. GovSpend provides government procurement data and analytics to organizations buying and selling in the public sector with transparency and accountability at the center of what they do. They strive to place data-driven insights into the hands of federal, state, local, and education customers so that they can win more government contracts. The federal solution, which is the FedMine platform, harnesses data from 19 federal sources and empowers federal agencies to seamlessly explore the market, gain valuable insights through comprehensive spending analysis, and access detailed vendor profiles in real time. Okay, we also want to thank our in-kind sponsors and partners, GovEvents, that's the premier platform for posting events related to government and government contracting. You can find all of our webinars and our events on govevents.com, as well as recordings from our past 700 plus webinars. We also want to thank Tom Johnson and his team at Set Aside Alert. That's the go-to publication for contracting opportunities for small, women-owned, veteran-owned, HubZone, and 8A firms. Visit setasidealert.com for more information. Also, Fairfax County Economic Development Group is a great resource for businesses in Northern Virginia. Please visit their calendar to learn about events and trainings, including this webinar series. We also want to thank the Virginia Apex Accelerator. These were formerly known as PTACs, or Procurement Technical Assistance Centers, which is exactly what they do. They provide training, one-on-one counseling, and mentoring, as well as matchmaking to aspiring or existing government contractors. Visit virginiaapex.org to access their training calendar, find useful links to training, and more. You can also contact them by email or phone number, which you see there on your screen. The corporate sponsors, which help make our webinars complimentary, include C3, FedBiz Access, Federal Publication Seminars, GovPro AI, WorkPlan, and R. Turner Consulting. Let's learn a little bit about them. The FedBiz Access. The FedBiz Access Advantage empowers small businesses with the tools, resources, and expertise needed to succeed in the federal marketplace. With over 23 years of experience, the team has helped clients secure over $34.7 billion in awards. They guide businesses through the complexities of government contracting with innovative marketing solutions, personalized support, and a steadfast commitment to your success. By fostering stronger relationships and delivering exceptional results, they've become a trusted partner for businesses seeking to expand their federal contracting opportunities. Experience the FedBiz Access difference and unlock your potential today. Call them direct at 844-631-7121. C3 Integrated Solutions. If you're thinking about getting in on big tech contracts with the DoD, you need to prepare for CMMC. Compliance could be a requirement as soon as the spring of 2025, so it's important to start now. No matter where you are in the process, whether you're still in planning mode or you've started and stopped, C3 can help. C3 provides a prescribed path to compliance that relieves 80% of all of your CMMC Level 2 assessment objectives, including 100% of all IT-related objectives, and supports you through the remaining 20%. Ensure your competitive advantage, lock in valuable DoD contracts, and get started with CMMC today. Contact C3 for more information by visiting their website. FedPub Seminars. For over 65 years, Federal Publication Seminars, FPS, has been the premier provider of government contracts training, widely regarded as the industry's gold standard. Expert-led courses offer comprehensive education for all levels, from beginner to advanced professionals, covering essential, up-to-date topics crucial to government contracting. Learn more about FPS and their training solutions at fedpubseminars.com. R. Turner Consulting. R. Turner Consulting is a GovCon growth consultancy delivering the full spectrum of business development, capture and proposal services from a team of experienced consultants led by Mr. Robert Turner. The firm's offerings include fixed price IDIQ proposals, curated market intelligence delivering scalable pipeline support. FPDSplus.com is a free GovCon procurement data analytics application, and also RFQplus.ai, which is an AI-driven subscription delivering qualified IDIQ task orders to your inbox with your own personal AI assistant that works for you on your document collection and keeps your data private. R. Turner Consulting helps you bid smarter and win more. GovPro AI is revolutionizing government contracting. They transform your past proposals into powerful AI engine, delivering customized pink team drafts in just 48 hours. By cutting drafting time by 70% and reducing costs by half, GovPro AI allows you to focus on what truly matters: strategy and win themes. Their human in the loop approach ensures compliance and quality while seamlessly integrating with your existing processes. Built by GovCon experts for GovCons, they truly understand your challenges. Want to boost your win rates and expand your federal business? Visit govpro.ai today to schedule a demo and see how they can supercharge your proposal processes. The future of government contracting is here. Don't get left behind. WorkPlan. WorkPlan is a modern cloud-based ERP system hosted by Amazon Web Services that allows federal contractors to efficiently run and grow their businesses. It was built by federal contractors for federal contractors. WorkPlan allows contractors to remain FAR and DCAA compliant. Additionally, it allows remote access through desktop, cell phone, iPad, or laptop. Gain actionable insights from reports that cover multi-year contracts, multiple periods, the entire enterprise, or drill down for more detail. Report on direct and indirect project cost, project profitability in real time. You can learn more and request a demo at workplan.com. Okay, I alluded to our series speaker, and she is here with us, Archisa Meehan from Fed Consult. Archisa, I'll turn the floor over to you to say hello.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for having me here. Talking about our big tech companies in federal government. For those who don't know me, my name is Archisha Meehan. I'm founder of Fed Consult, a strategic consulting company that's focused on the federal space. We basically help companies and organizations with competitive analysis, marketing strategy, and more. And I previously worked at FedMine and GovSpan, and I was the head of federal at GovSpan, the leaders in the world of federal spend intelligence. And looking forward to today's webinar on Intel.
Great, thank you so much. It's great to have you with us. And I know you've worked with us over the past several years on providing content on other webinars. So thanks again for joining us and digging deep into the data here for Intel, which is who we're covering today. We'll just look at their basic company information, which is some screenshots from their website. When you hop over to their website, the first thing you're going to see is that they're kind of screaming AI, which is great. They're embracing it. It's very easy to navigate website. They've got a section specifically for government. You can see over on your far left-hand side at the bottom. If you click on government, you can drill down and learn a lot more about what they're doing in that space as it relates to technology. They've got some newsletters that you can sign up for and some case studies and more. So let's go ahead and kind of dig into what they're doing here just on the technology side. When you click on the AI section, it's going to tell you, excuse me, a little bit more about their AI initiatives. You've got a little menu there on your left-hand side, which will give you more detail. So again, we just encourage you to spend time on their website before you decide to have a conversation about how you want to work with them or how you can support them in any of their initiatives. And just read up and learn as much as you possibly can so that you have a more educated discussion with the powers that be. Some things that they're doing here in the federal space include AI virtual assistant for USCIS. They're also helping the FBI locate some missing children. And the other two examples that you see there on the screen are look like they're more for state and local public sector. So again, and we'll hear more about the federal sector when Archisa goes through the data. They do have a newsletter, so I always encourage anyone that's, whether you're, trying to partner or be a subcontractor to Intel or ABC companies, see if the organization has a newsletter and sign up for it and stay abreast of what they're doing. You could find some important announcements about teaming, partnering, joint venture, not just Intel, but whomever it is that that you want to partner with. When we go to LinkedIn, they have their standard website here. Everyone's familiar with Intel. And we dug a little bit further here just to provide some more intelligence and information about the company for you. We just pulled out people that had job titles with public sector. Makes sense that she's here in Washington. We've got another player here who's also a director. And again, I don't know their Intel's corporate structure or their job titles or kind of their org chart, but this gentleman is out of Carmel, Indiana. I'm not sure, again, these are just some leads that you can kind of run with. Not every lead is going to be a home run, but depending upon what it is you're bringing to the table, these folks might be able to help you. Keyword being might. When we look at the stock price, we pull the data from Yahoo Finance. They are publicly traded on the NASDAQ exchange. The top 5 institutional stockholders, which we've seen some of the usual suspects here, the top 3 at least, Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street that we saw with some of the earlier tech companies that we looked at. I think Capital International and Geocode are new players. I'm sorry, Geode. The current stock price is hovering around $24. This was taken a couple of days ago, I think. And then we go back in time to look at the inception of when they went public. You can see, obviously, the spike there as their business was really taking off in the semiconductor business in 1995. The height of their business at the turn of the century, and then it's gained some growth right around, we'll say, 2013, 2015, and then back down around 24, so hovering around 24 or so for the recent years. Again, we're not encouraging you to purchase their stock or not purchase their stock or hold it or sell it if you have it. These are just informative pieces of information that you can use in your conversations with the company. The lobbying information we get from a public website called Open Secrets. Anybody can go there. You don't need a subscription. They've spent about close to $7 million on lobbying. And this will kind of, when you look at 2001 through about, let's say, 2006, they had some decent spend. Their 2022 and 2023 are right around the same spend as they had at the turn of the century. But they're using a lot more lobbyists. The lobbyist numbers are on that purple, the purple lines with the circles on them. And 2024 is incomplete as it is with federal contracting data, just because it's delayed until the reports are gathered and the information is compiled. So I'd encourage you to go back and see what's happening there. 2022, I'm assuming a good part of the reason that they were spending money there was due to the CHIPS Act, which passed in 2022. So again, just you need to kind of take this and kind of put a puzzle together as far as how does all of this data relate to each other and how does it impact their business. Okay, I'm going to stop talking in a moment and pass the reins over to Archisa. He's going to dig into some of the SAM information and the federal contracts. So Archisa, over.
Okay, thanks, Jennifer. So let's dig into the data for Intel. As you can see, and we've noticed this in many cases, there might be more than one organization that is registered to do business with the federal government. And in this case, we have two Intel organizations, Intel Corp and Intel Federal LLC. Let's go to the next slide, and you can actually see that the total contracts that Intel has won year over year has gone up from 11 million in FY20 to 7 million in FY21, but FY22, 23, and of course 24 have seen a major jump, and we're going to look into why that is. And you could actually, this also ties in with what Jennifer was showing us before about what's happening at Intel itself in terms of the data that we can see based on their website. So FY22 numbers went up to almost 40 million, dropped a little in FY23, gone up again in FY24 to $33 million. And this is as of last Wednesday, the 26th. Let's go to the next slide. Let's start by looking at the civilian and independent agency contracts. If I go to the next slide, you actually can see that they won an award from the Department of Interior in FY23. This actually is an OTA for prototype, and we will talk a little bit about that in a bit. They also won a small little contract in FY24 from NASA for training. That's all it takes, training. So let's go to the next slide, and we can really dig more into where their contracts are. And you can actually see that most of their contracts are at the defense agency. And if we go into those details, within DoD, they actually have substantially increased the awards that they're getting from DARPA. You can see that from less than $6 million in FY20 and 21, they have increased to, what was it, almost like $40 million in FY22, 23, and 24. We are going to see the defense numbers increase, and that is because typically the defense agencies have up to 90 days to make their data public in FPDS. So I would say the first week of January is really the best time to pull the total awards for any for the government, especially the DoD. You can also see that they've won contracts at Army, Navy, and Air Force. So they've definitely started focusing on the defense agencies. If we go to the next slide,
Yep, and I was
And
just going to say on
yeah,
fiscal year 24, I wouldn't be surprised if they surpass the numbers from 2022, which is really the height of their defense contracting dollars. And as you said, the numbers from Navy double, Army comes out of nowhere with almost 6.5. DARPA hits a home run or they hit a home run with DARPA in 2022. So it looks like they're well on their way. So we'll
I
have to
think
check
you're
back
so
in
right.
90 days. Yeah.
Totally. It will be good to see what it is. So it's also important for us to look at the OTA awards. This is how Intel's really growing in the federal space. From all their contracts, you could see, FY20, it was a $10 million OTA. In FY21, 6.7. FY22 is when they've really hit a home run, with more than $30 million in OTAs, as also in FY23, 24. So really their growth is coming from using the OTA procurement solution. And as we all know, a lot of it has to do with R&D. And that sort of ties in with what Intel's doing with all the articles that you were also talking about and the work that they were doing, Jennifer. So it all sort of makes sense when you start looking at the numbers. And if we go into the next slide, we can actually see what the OTAs are for. Department of Interior was an OT for prototype NGMM. Not sure what NGMM means. The DARPA awards were for prowess, or which is processor reconfiguration for wideband sensor systems, and space BACN, which is the space-based adaptive communications node. And the Navy is also an IAW OT agreement. So we've definitely seen over the past few other IT companies too, Jennifer, a lot of the awards were through OTAs. And, I'm not sure if you want to add anything, but I'm just finding it very interesting to see the companies that are actually winning these OTAs.
Yep, and the NGMM, I just took a moment to look that up. It's next generation microelectronics. You see a lot of that at even though it's Department of Interior contract, it actually, when you Google it, it intersects with DARPA fairly frequently. On the OTA front, for anyone that's new to government contracting or has been in government contracting and hasn't really heard of it, other transaction authorities, these are non-FAR, Federal Acquisition Regulation contracts, so they don't have to follow the FAR. The entities that can use OTAs are Department of Energy, Department of Defense, Department of Homeland Security, Department of Transportation. I think that might be it, but these came, they started growing in use during what I call the COVID contracting era, just because the government needed to make quick decisions and procure goods and services in a timely fashion. It didn't really have the patience for FAR contracting, which is kind of the bulk of how contracting happens. So OTAs came into play, and they have at least tripled in their use, if not more than that. If you want information on OTAs, more of the mechanics and strategies and just various ways to learn more about OTAs, we've got, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 complimentary webinars on OTAs. If you click on the link at the bottom of your screen, that takes you over to our YouTube channel, which gives you the complimentary download on those webinars. Anything else to add here, Archisa?
No, I think OTAs, I'm glad you have all those very informative webinars, because I think it is really important for companies that are in technology and want to do R&D to pay attention to how they can win awards through OTAs. So let's talk about other relevant contract information. Let's have a look at the top industry codes. The next slide is going to talk to us about NAICS codes. And again, OTAs don't have NAICS codes. So the number here is much less than what they've actually won. And as it makes sense, right? A lot of their work is in R&D with a little bit in software publishing and professional and management development NAICS codes. If we go to their PSC codes, we will get a much better idea of what is it that they're really doing. And this is where you could actually see that they are doing a lot of work under the R&D NAICS codes. So again, very important for us to remember that. The next slide is focused on the subcontracts that Intel is winning. And the first one is, I broke it up into both the corporations for Intel. So this one is Intel Corp. They've actually won more than, they are definitely winning good subcontracts. A lot of it is coming from Boeing. In FY24, they've won about 26 million in subcontracts. Boeing is their largest prime that they work with at $19 million, but it's also, you could see companies like Northrop, Lockheed, Raytheon are all working with Intel as a subcontractor. Keep in mind that the subcontract data is coming from USA spending and is self-reported in FSRS. So just want to make sure everyone remembers that when they're looking at the subcontract data. And I think if you're a company that's wanting to work with Intel and you're trying to understand what Intel is doing, it's also important for us to remember that Intel itself is a subcontractor and pay attention to where they're winning the subcontracts from. So I think the next, go ahead. Do you want to add anything?
And I was just going to add, Intel obviously is a product company where the other tech firms that we looked at the last few weeks were more services, and so we saw Accenture show up fairly frequently. I think maybe for all, maybe except one, as the prime for the companies. But Accenture obviously plays in the services space, where Intel is more on the product side. So just looking at similarities and differences with the companies that we're profiling, and just a side note on that. So obviously the companies that we see here make sense for Intel to work with, and the usual suspects, no major surprises.
Totally. And because we know the subcontracts that Intel's working with, it sort of makes sense to see the NAICS codes, definitely a lot of aircraft manufacturing, but then also R&D and similar NAICS codes in terms of the subcontract data. And next slide is going to focus in on the agencies where they're working as a subcontractor. Again, DoD agencies, which include Air Force, MDA, Department of Navy, Army, but it's also, you'll see that NASA is another agency that they are working with as a subcontractor. And let's not forget that they did get a small prime contract too with NASA. So again, paying attention to the subcontracts and the agencies is always good.
Yep, and again, it just the 2022 numbers look strong, as they have in all of the other ways that you've sliced and diced the data. So consistent.
Yeah. Consistent, very consistent. You can definitely see Intel's focus on the federal work. So let's look at the subcontracts at Intel Federal. And I sort of just broke it up because it's interesting. We saw so much of DoD type of work with Intel Corp and Intel Federal. You could see their subcontractors to Leland Stanford Junior University, as also Booz Allen. But again, they are doing a good amount of work as subcontractors. So it's always good to see that. And the next slide gives us a quick look at the NAICS code, which is all R&D. And then it's also interesting to see that they have also won, the agency. We see DARPA, which is that Booz Allen contract, and then you could see with GSA. So again, always good to see this information. And the next slide. As always, when we are looking at these IT companies, it's important to look at them as a prime and a sub, but it's also important for us to pay attention to the products that they might be selling or the federal government is using, and how are they selling those products, right? So in this case, I basically did keywords for Intel Chip, Intel Core, Intel Atom, Xeon, and Evo. And you could see that almost $5 million were awarded to about 18 companies for these keywords. I tried to use Intel, but I got a lot of Intel being used for intelligence type of awards, which really don't tie in. But when I'm looking at your top companies that sell these Intel products, no surprises, Atlantic Diving Supply is right up there, followed by Noble Sales and Sterling Computers. Most of these contracts have gone awarded as small business, which is always good to see. And if I go to the next slide, I could actually see the NAICS codes, mainly miscellaneous manufacturing and electronic computer manufacturing NAICS codes. And if I go to the next slide, I can see the agencies, which is really DLA, Air Force, Army, Homeland, where these products are being sold to. So again, makes sense when we look at the entire picture of Intel. And if I go, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to jump in. Maybe 2 or 3 slides back was Atlantic Diving Supply. And for anyone that's not well versed in government contracting or defense contracting, ADS, Atlantic Diving Supply, you may just think a diving company, like what are they selling? Scuba equipment. And that may be their history actually, but they're here in the Virginia Beach area, and they provide a variety of services and products to the federal government. It sounds maybe like a small company that again is in the scuba diving equipment, but their distribution service and they kind of rock and roll in the defense world. So just a little late note on a couple slides back there. So back to you, Archisa. Thank you.
I'm glad you gave that little background because we sort of take it all that, oh yeah, everyone knows Atlantic Diving, but yeah.
Right. Okay.
But yes,
Great.
I think that was it on the contract side, and I'm going to hand it back to you now.
Great, thanks so much. It was a great overview. And now we'll just look at some federal sector news, which there are a couple of things stuck out to me here that a lot of their news articles will mention some names and people, and it's incumbent upon you, if you're interested in doing business with them, to reach out to those folks. But first and foremost, they do have, it looks like it was perhaps just a one-time event because it doesn't look like it's happening this year. I couldn't find anything for it in some searches that I did, but they had an event. It was the Intel Public Sector Summit. Here in Washington, D.C., over at the Anthem, which is a great venue for concerts. It's over in the southwest area of D.C. But again, I couldn't find anything that this was something that's happens every quarter, every year, or anything like that. But it was, almost a year ago. So just kind of an FYI on that. As I mentioned, when you do look for news articles, and I would encourage you to subscribe to Google Alerts to get news articles, again, if you are doing business or wanting to do business with Intel Federal at the federal sector level. And you'll see some names here. The gentleman at the bottom here, this Cameron Chayray, again, I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce his name, but he came from Dell. He kind of led the federal efforts there. He's been out on the circuit. You can see, I think there was an interview with him at Federal News Network recently. So that could be helpful. And again, you see some names and faces here. I'd encourage you to look them up on LinkedIn, and don't contact them until you have something of intelligence to say, either about the company or an opportunity that you're bringing to the table. And some more information here about the business that they're doing, and some of this ties back to the data and information that Archisa presented just a couple moments ago. Some of this, the middle slide there is, takes you back to 2022, but everything else that we grabbed was fairly new and relevant. This is just a couple of weeks ago in September, the $3 billion award. A lot of this relates to the CHIPS Act, which again goes back to 2022. Focused on the semiconductor industry. There's some more people that show up. Again, this is fairly recent and relevant. Well, maybe almost January 18, 2024. But again, read these articles, learn as much as you can before you start knocking on the doors. The more prepared you are, the more you're going to set yourself apart from the other companies that are like you, that are trying to partner with the companies. And this is really just a formula for success, whether you're trying to work with Intel or ABC company. So again, we want to thank GovSpend for providing the data through the FedMine platform. We want to thank Archisa Meehan from Fed Consults. Archisa, anything to add before we close it out?
No, thank you so much for having me. And, I look forward to meeting you again next week for, I want to say Apple.
I think so, yes. Okay, thanks everybody. And if you're watching the YouTube presentation, leave us a comment. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you.